Thanks for joining us today on the Culture Drop Podcast. I'm your host, Jed, joined once again today by philanthropist and raconteur William Devitt. Today, the subject is music as medicine. Artists discussed include John Lennon, Aztec, The Clash, Toots and the Maytals, Gil Scott-Heron, Paul McCartney, U2, the Mekons, the Beatles, Sam Cooke, the Tom Robinson Band, Bob Dylan, Fela Kuti, Prince, Bruce Springsteen, The Alarm, Midnight Oil, David Bowie, the Jim Carroll Band, The Replacements, the Rolling Stones, Chris Butler, the Pogues, and the Police. So sit back and enjoy the podcast.
Yeah, I don't know how you want to introduce this. I'm not even sure how to approach this. It's kind of a heavy thing. I don't know what you want, what to say, how much to say, what not to say, about why we're doing this. I guess I would use the term medicine.
Healing, a balm.
A balm, indeed, yeah. I mean, that's what music and, art in general.
How do you inspire people?
Well, to inspire, but also to comfort.
Yeah.
Even if there's no inspiration to be had. Such is life, that what things that you might be considered, that is negative, or that's a downer. Sometimes that's just life, and there can be comfort in hearing or seeing or reading or experiencing an artist's take on things. It doesn't have to be inspiring, if you know what I mean. It doesn't have to be inspiring you to want to wake up in the morning. If you don't feel like waking up in the morning, you haven't had for a long time. And of course that could be a sign of clinical depression and all these things. So when the term inspiring to me is not a very inspiring term. Mm-hmm. And some of my choices are not that. Some of them are. Some of them are just plain fight songs.
Yeah.
Fight it. Fight it. Fight it within yourself. But the times are so peculiar now. John Lennon's Power to the People. I don't know how that song is considered by, say, Beatles fanatics, or, how it's considered critically, how it was considered. I think it's a great track. It's a powerful track sonically. Uh-huh. It's a very powerful song. And it's a very compelling song. It's got great forward momentum. It's rousing.
Yeah.
But the sentiment, Power to the People, not in late November 2024. Sorry. But it's a great track. I use that as an example of a song that is and was, when it was first released, inspiring. I believe it was inspiring. Power to the People, right? And that became a catchphrase. And it already was a catchphrase. That's where Lennon got it from black dudes, from black chicks. That was already a thing.
Yeah, he wrote it, that was 1971. People were marching in the streets, and he wrote it for people to chant and sing at protests, which they did. Right. And it's very effective. And it's a very powerful track. So it was inspiring and still can be inspiring. I'm saying that's almost a little too cliched for the time of right now. Power to the people? Okay. All right. Now let's look at the actual facts, because the facts are not just the political with a capital P. Politics becomes the personal, and the personal becomes political. We've heard that, phrase and cliche. To me, things are feeling a lot more personal. Art does not get an automatic pass being a savior. Our art can be, was it our man from Hibbing?
Mr. Zimmerman, a.k.a. Bob Dylan, he said there's two types of songs. One is destructive, and one tears down and one builds. Something like that. Mm-hmm. I believe it's a Bob quote.
Yeah, that's interesting. Also, as a rejoinder to the Power to the People, I had a John Lennon song on here. It's called Bring on the Lucy, and in parentheses, Free to People, and he spelled it Freda. And it's kind of, to your point, a more joyful version of Power to the People. It's just a really fun song with a chorus. Free the people now, do it now.
I've heard of it. Maybe I've even heard it. I'm jotting that down right now.
It's a really fun song. It's got this slide guitar.
But just to reiterate, I'm not taking anything away from Power to the People as a song, as a track. Its production, everything. It's just, it sounds like what it is. It's just overwhelmingly joyful, righteously indignant, and then more joy, and then more indignant, and more. It's a great, great track. A great song, a great track, a great production. It's a great record.
Yeah, I think that, to your point about how it was received in Beatle world, I think it's a pretty lowly rated track, and it's viewed more as just a kind of a product of its time. I think it accomplished what it wanted to do what it wanted to do at the time, but it's not really rated very highly as a musical.
Oh, like piece. A novelty, or just something very, very time specific.
Yeah, more than a novelty though. I mean, it wasn't it was sung. I think it was sung a lot at protests, and it achieved its purpose. Which is kind of how Lennon viewed music at the time. Creating things for its time. Yeah. I mean, years before I actually heard the song. And we're talking, 72, I was young. I heard it in other capacities. I wasn't attending as a 7, 8-year-old demonstrations or anything, but I heard it through, just through osmosis, through the culture. Other people doing it, on TV, something, and that's actually before I have any memory of hearing the song. Yeah.
So it was a thing, but I was aware of at the time. I was aware of, the civil rights and the racial. I think even as a young kid, I was aware that. I thought that's what rock and rollers did. Even white British rock and rollers, who tended to be my favorite, they got the stuff from the brothers and sisters, all the cool stuff, and the powerful, moving, certainly the rhythmic stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, I was right. John didn't just think of Power to the People himself.
Yeah.
The Black Panthers and the civil rights movements of the 60s, molding itself into what came out by 1971, 72, that was already a thing. It was Power to the People. And so it's not something that, John just came up with. John was just, like any great artist, a conduit for interesting, inspiring material.
Yep, no doubt. What else you got?
For songs, I guess I'll name some. Good Morning Britain, Aztec Camera. Not my favorite band. In fact, I really don't know much about them. I've only heard a few albums. And Roddy Frame, fine guitar player, fine singer, fine songwriter. It's just not my thing. But the song Good Morning Britain came out in 1990. Everything about it is just perfect. It's a perfect anthem. But lyrically, it's from the folk tradition. It's a guy, a a Scottish guy writing about what's going on at that time, 1990, in Great Britain. It's just a great, great track. It was a great lyric. It could have been written 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And featuring my man Mick Jones from The Clash on duetting the vocals. They sing. Roddy Frame and Mick Jones alternate verses in very rapid fire. It's a very rapid fire delivery, almost rapping, and supplies half of the guitar playing as well. And it's too bad we can't, due to copyright reasons, have played little snippets, on our show. To give listeners a feel for what we're talking about musically. But that's one song that really, and that actually is a song of an inspiring song. A song that ends in positivity while acknowledging resignation and possible defeat. We're not talking about political defeat here. We're talking about just plain human level, personal defeat.
Yeah. Yeah, the tone, the overall tone of the song is one of positivity. It's Good Morning Britain. It's not Good Night Britain. The video is kind of uplifting, if I remember.
Well, Good Morning Britain is ironic as well.
Yeah.
It's not just Good Morning Britain, it's Good Morning Britain.
Yeah.
It's ironic. It's
sure.
ironic. Is it really a good morning?
Right.
Or something far from being a good morning? So
right.
It's ironic.
Right, of course.
And the lyric just drives that home.
Yeah.
Jock's got a vote in parochia. First line of the song. Jock meaning, your average Scotsman.
Yeah.
Probably not doing well in that part of Britain at that time. Parochia, that's just anywhere. That's the suburbs. That's the rural. That's the no account. That's, the silent majority. The virtuous salt of the earth. Really? You think so? Those damned elites. Those elites with their philosophy and their progressive ideas for humanity. Those damned elites. No, we want the working class. The sacred working class. So there's some of that going on as well. Corporal sneers at Catholic boy, and he eyes his gun like a rich man's toy. He's killing more than Celtic joy. Death is not a stranger. That's just one line, but the last, in the hills and valley and far away, the underground's a stop away, just a stop away, the underground. Don't be too black, don't be too gay. Just get a little duller,
Mm-hmm.
Think about those lines. They could have been written 5 minutes ago.
Sure.
Okay, what do you got? You just want to go back and forth here?
Yeah, let's go back and forth. Let me group my Clash songs all together just so the talk is a little more cohesive. I've got Spanish Bombs, Know Your Rights, I Fought the Law, even though that they didn't write it, Rebel Waltz, and I've got, Paper Planes by MIA.
Yeah, apparently she's come out to be a whack job, unfortunately.
Okay. But anyway, that song's got a bit of a rebel feel to it, even though the song may be more, a romantic type of pursuit song, but
yeah, it's a good track. I like the track.
It's got a kind of that protest, rebel kind of party, intensity feel to it. So,
well, the backing track is the Clash's "Straight to Hell."
right, exactly.
It's a sample of that.
Right. Hence, grouping it with the Clash.
You're right. Very interesting takes now. Spanish Bombs. Well, what are they doing? They're sort of not co-opting the Spanish Civil War. They're using Spanish Civil War as a metaphor for the current, at least in 1979, struggle of artists who are actually trying to do something. Federico Lorca, and how you're going to be prosecuted and possibly jailed or even murdered. By the powers that be, as Federico Lorca obviously was murdered. So it's a very romantic song, and it romanticizes armed struggle. It romanticizes Civil War, which obviously is sometimes very necessary. Look at the United States, the American Civil War. Absolutely and utterly necessary. Musically, it's great. Mixed guitar, just the vocal interplay. It's a wonderful track. Rebel Waltz. I don't know. It's a very interesting, track musically.
It's a waltz. It part of it is like a dream. It has a dreamlike quality, which when you're moving through these weird parts of history like we are now, it does kind of have a dreamlike quality to it, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, and that'll come up in a couple of my selections. This sort of myopic or, dreamlike, certainly, quality. Yes. And it does. And, the way the song is, played, and, Mick Jones' production on it, the trombone, mirroring sort of the dub and reggae and ska influences of Great Britain, is a great touch. So it's not just a straight waltz. It's a really, really odd piece of music. It's almost like Tom Waits, what he was going to start doing in a couple of years. It's an odd bastard hybrid of sounds and feels and influences. But Joe Storm's lyric is very romantic, and clearly it's intended to be that way. It was intended to be from the point of view of someone under serious, heavy manners. Someone in a very oppressive society who's probably involved in a open or armed struggle against oppressive forces.
Who just kind of maybe is sleeping against a tree and falls into reverie or something. It has that quality too.
Exactly. And it's cited within the lyric. I dreamed last night.
I was dancing on air.
So it's not Joe, because Joe actually was an actual poet. I don't use the word in the pop music, rock and roll sense. He's, a very, very fine lyric writer. So he knew what he was doing, and how to present a song with those sort of almost banal sentiments. What were the other tracks? Spanish Bombs, Rebel Waltz, Paper Planes,
Know Your Rights.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's about as blunt and in your face as you can get, and the music just backs it up. Just like just hitting those chords over and over again. Just again, just a weird. Well, the Clash made their own genre of music. It's like, what is it? Rockabilly? What's these almost industrial sounding guitars?
And he's screaming it almost to the point of hoarseness, but it somehow kind of almost mirrors, like, you imagine a screaming sergeant. It's like, but just the dichotomy of, you've got these rights on paper, and you're confronting a power system which may or may not respect those rights.
Yeah, that's not even the best version. There are a couple different versions.
That's right. I've heard those other versions, which I prefer, actually, that he sings it a little bit more like straight.
Different lyrics, sometimes entirely different musical takes.
Yeah.
One was released just recently, the reissue of the Combat Rock album, 2 years ago or something. But there's bootleg versions of different vocal takes to that same backing track. And so the one released on the album is not my favorite. And the lyrics sometimes are changed, sometimes subtly and sometimes blatantly. One of the ones, the completely different take, everything about it, that was released 2 years ago. The People's Hall was the name of the bonus track. And it's kind of a ripoff, actually, but that's a different topic. But it's a great, great track. Joe sings a song in sort of a South London, West Indies, Jamaican patois sort of voice. And it winds up with the very last, as the song is fading out. It's a cop, telling people out on the street after closing time at the pub, who are obviously not in a good mood. But just that line there, don't you have a home to go to?
Yeah.
It's funny, but it's also 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Going on right now. It's a great track. It's a great track and a very startling track. It retains its power musically, the vocal phrasing and delivery, the actual lyrics. But sorry, that didn't mean to get on my Clash fanboy thing. It's like, there's different versions and slightly different lyrics. Sorry about that. And was that for the Clash, your Clash grouping?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's over to me. Speaking of the Clash, the song, one of the songs to end all songs is Toots and the Maytals' Pressure Drop.
Oh, nice one. Yep.
It's pretty much everything you need to know. It's a little half-pint guy from Kingston, living in Jamaica, who's, the Jamaican version of Otis Redding.
Yeah.
The finest male singer of the 20th century, in my opinion, being Otis, and Toots Hibbert would be somewhat after that. It's pretty much everything you need to know. The drive of it, the simplicity of the lyric, it's all gut. It's all gut and it's all heart.
Yeah.
And speaking of the Clash, one of the very few versions of a song that is a cover song. Sometimes there's been songs that are better than the original. Sometimes the original wasn't a very good song, and somebody's cover version, made it a good song or improved it. But a song that is just immaculately perfect, to have somebody match it with not note for note. Well, the Clash achieved that with Pressure Drop. Their arrangement of Pressure Drop retains the feel, offers something else, and has rather than the heavy, up-tempo reggae vibe. Toots and Maytals were just sort of inventing, reggae from blue beat, ska, rock steady, all those things that was called in the 60s. The Clash, their version is an up-tempo, four-on-the-floor ska beat, but Mick Jones has those guitar lines and little leads and fills that actually sound like the cry of a human being. His leads. Mm-hmm. So I say the Clash's version. I put that on a level with Toots and Maytals' original for Pressure Drop. Mm-hmm. And it's just, if you don't know the song, people, get to know it right now. If you don't know the song, Toots and Maytals' version or the Clash's version, ideally both of them. That's what you need to be hearing. That's strong medicine. Mm-hmm. Times. Over to you.
Yeah. That's a really good call. It does feel like there's been a pressure drop, so I think that's a very apt choice. Next one I got is Ghost Town by the Specials.
Oh, yeah.
We were talking about how these types of songs can uplift you. They can describe what's going on. I think this is a great example where it's kind of a dark song, but it was a dark mood in Britain at the time, and it kind of created its own sense of commiseration or something, just people banding together, listening to the song and like, oh yeah, that's what's going on right now. And it's just described beautiful way, dark and a little bit scary almost, but just haunting is maybe what I want to say. The Specials' last great hurrah and really define a cultural moment in Britain at that time in 1981.
Yeah, it's haunting. It's haunting. It's funky as hell, too. And yes, kid, you can dance to it. You can, and you probably can almost not dance to it. And even, the backing vocals, I have a mocking, comic feel to it, mm-hmm. which would be, part of, sort of the classic British dance hall tradition, maybe. Very powerful track. Very powerful track. It's kind of funny that I'll just go off on a little tangent here. The Stones, the last time they played the UK, which is, 2020, 2021, when they played in Coventry, where the Specials are from.
Yeah.
Along with, Selector, another great two-tone ska band from that era. The Reformed Specials opened for them. Uh-huh. And, the very next Stones, it was a standalone single and came out a year later during lockdown, COVID lockdown, was Living in a Ghost Town.
Yeah.
And damned if it doesn't have that deep reggae, funky groove to it.
Yeah, definite influence. It's a very good observation. Yeah.
Yeah, so how much, Mick and Keith were, thinking of that or influenced by the Specials. Obviously, guys like that were hip to the Specials, back in the day.
Yeah.
But just a little aside there.
Nice one.
Yeah. Well, let's see. We got, I guess it's over to me, and I'm just going to throw The Revolution Will Not Be Televised by Gil Scott-Heron.
Nice.
And kids, if you don't know that one, you don't know what you're missing. It's, I think it came out in 72, maybe 73, around there. And a lot of the references are very, very, time-specific.
Yeah.
Cultural references. But if you can get your head around that, it's It's a funky track, and it's one of the funkiest tracks to feature a flute as well.
Yeah.
Gil Scott-Heron, great writer, poet, singer, activist.
Kind of one of the early progenitors of rap, in a way, couldn't you say?
Oh, sure. Now, he had his own thing going. He wasn't doing, like, the last poets were around at the same time, in New York City. And so, they, too, were early, godfathers of rap. Different musical angles they were coming from. Gil Scott-Heron, throughout his career, came from different angles as well, musically speaking.
Yeah.
But definitely that's, if you're going to talk about maybe not hip-hop per se, in the, say, post, after 1979, might refer to the culture. Hip-hop is generally regarded as the culture, and rap is the style, the delivery of the music.
Oh, sure.
As I understand.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So Gil Scott-Heron, it would not be considered hip-hop. It's extremely funky, and it's definitely rapping, and he's got something to say, and it's funny, and it's enraging, and apart from the various cultural references, commercial consumerism of the time, or celebrities, or public figures of the time that are mentioned in the song. I can't believe the guy didn't get sued right, left, and center by all kinds of people. Maybe he did, I don't know. But the song stands up. It stands up. It's a great moment. And it's not a serious, musically, it's not down-pressing, as they would say in Kingston 11, Jamaica. It's not down-pressing, man. It's got a light, nimble, funky feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Almost a breezy quality to it.
Yeah.
All right, over to you.
Next one I've got is two bookends, actually. John Lennon and Paul McCartney, we talked about John Lennon earlier. They tended to do things similar time frames. Like, they both got married within a few weeks of each other. There's some other parallels, but they both came out with an Irish protest song in 1972. Paul had one called Give Ireland Back to the Irish that was banned by the BBC and made it, of course, sent it right near the top of the charts. And it's kind of in Paul's optimistic way, kind of a optimistic type of protest song. And John had, it was almost like a waltz, like a acoustic guitar strum along called Luck of the Irish. That was in his Sometime in New York City album, which had a lot of protest type songs on it. And of course, there were a lot of things going on in Ireland in 1972. So, just responding to the troubles of that time. And they both wanted to say something.
Oh, they're good songs, though.
They're both very good songs, I think. You should listen to them both, see what you think.
Oh, I will. I don't know. I've heard of them both, primarily from you, but I don't know either of them.
Yeah, as songs, I like them both better than Power to the People, just in terms of actual songs. I think they're both quite compelling.
I guess I'll have to look them up. I think a lot of songs that directly address Northern Ireland, say 1972 and thereabouts, can feel not so much dated, but as not hateful, but because certainly reason for that, but very, very specific. And rare is the song where a protest song where it can be universal.
And these did not survive that test. I mean, neither of them are trotted out as example when you go hear like their songs from their catalog, you'll never hear either of these songs.
Okay, yeah. And of course, I'll just have to check them out. Look at the Irish and give Ireland back to the Irish.
John's is more of a straight ahead type of protest song. Paul's, I think it drives a lot of people crazy because in Paul's like innocent way, he has lyrics like, "Tell me, how would you like it?" Talking to like Englishmen in the UK, how would you like it if on your way to work you were stopped by Irish soldiers? Would you lie down? Would you do nothing? He's asking questions like that, just in his very simple Paul kind of way, like, hey, well, how would you like it if, blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of got a bit of a cloying aspect to it, but it's also just as a piece of songcraft, and he wanted to say something, just like his mate John did, and they both wrote Irish protest songs in 1972.
I think sometimes in Paul's defense, not having heard the song, sometimes the very straightforward and very literal.
Exactly. Kind of puts it in real, daily terms, what that means for Irish people by saying that, right? Northern Irish people.
Woody Guthrie could pull that off. Of course, Woody was also an actual poet as well. Yeah. But Woody could, also pull off, this is what happened, here's what happened next, here's what I felt about it, boom.
Yeah.
Done with story. And a lot of people have been able to pull that. It depends on how you're writing, whether it's a book or whether it's a dog roll in a song, or depends on context.
Absolutely.
How you're going to word what you have to say.
Yeah.
I've got here, both songs.
And just if I could group one more in with that, Sunday Bloody Sunday by U2, which refers, written in 1983, but referring to that time in history.
Yeah, well, it's also in 1983. Things
were going on
pretty bad in Northern Ireland as well. Right. It refers to 1972. I considered that briefly. I thought, what is it? I don't feel that. I don't feel that now. I love the track. It's a very powerful song. I don't feel it now. That's not it's not comforting me. There is a U2 track on my list. I guess I'll bring that up right now. I guess it's not on my list. I thought about putting A Celebration on there, which is a standalone single from 1982, between their second and third album, between October and the War album.
Yeah.
And under 3 minutes long. It's mainly for the sonic blast of the song.
Yeah, I believe in the powers that be, but they won't overpower or have power over me. It's kind of a nice sentiment.
The U2 song, A Celebration, makes reference to the Troubles. It also has their strange biblical references, one of the images, and the imagery is, Bono is about nothing if not imagery in his lyric, right? I believe in the walls of Jericho. I believe they're coming down. I believe in the city's children. What is the line? Echoing the trumpet sound? Or I don't even know. I could never figure out the lyrics. I think I looked them up on the internet a couple of years ago. It's just a very passionate song with this great forward rush of momentum.
Yeah.
Really White, producing and very cinematic sound. It has an almost unfinished or haphazard feel to it.
Was the video recorded it was recorded in a prison. Was that in Mountjoy Prison, do you know?
I believe, yeah, it was, yeah. They got security clearance to film it in Mountjoy. There was, the Maze, prison as well.
Right.
The H blocks, they called them. They were designed, for security reasons.
Yeah.
Like an H. But I didn't put that on my list. It's mainly a sonic thing for me.
Yeah.
And just the phrases that come out, just the song makes me feel brave.
Yeah. It makes you feel something.
Yeah. And speaking of feeling brave, I'll just move on to another one. I hope you don't mind. I'll just get this out of the way because this is pretty much what I've been listening to. It's a song called Hello, Cruel World by the Mekons.
Mm-hmm.
And features the line, I was stumbling through the barbed wire in the mud. I heard you singing. You sounded brave.
Mm-hmm.
Kids, go out and listen to everything and anything by the Mekons. I only discovered them recently, in the last year, even though I actually saw them a couple of decades ago live. And yeah, that's pretty much. If you look up the lyric to it, it's not even one of their greater songs. They have so much material that just like every song on every record.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you don't like this one? Try this. Oh, you don't like that one? Try this. Oh, you don't like that? And it seems to go for their album output.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't like that album? Try this. Okay, you don't like that? That's been my medicine, is their catalog. That's what I've been primarily listening to. That's it. But that line, I heard you singing.
Mm-hmm.
You sounded brave. I remember that. I remember that. I remember singing and wanting to sound brave. I remember wanting to inspire other people, playing in rock and roll bands.
Mm-hmm.
Even as a drummer, I often sang, stumbling through the barbed wire, through the mud, stepping over broken bodies. You have to look up the lyric, but really their entire catalog. And I only have something like, 13, 14 albums or whatever. I got a whole bunch more.
And that movie, that documentary, what's the documentary called that you recommended to me? That was quite good as well.
Oh, Revenge of the Mekons, yeah.
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 It's a nice kind of overview of their career up to a certain point.
There is sort of a more realistic version, lyrically, of Joe Strummer and Mick Jones from The Clash. Were very romantic. And the odd thing about the Mekons is that, of the three primary singers, the guys really don't do much for me, even though they're fine. Sally Timms is a wonderful singer, but she only sings on like a third of the material, sings the lead.
Yeah.
But a lot of their material, their vocals, their lyrics, they don't rhyme. Like the phrasing is great.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're coming from this classic tradition of old rock and roll and country and God knows what, the avant-garde. It's their entire. It's sort of like the Clash. I've said for many years, to you, anybody else who would listen, that they sort of invented their own genre of music.
Mm-hmm.
The Mekons are the same way.
I see a definite influence of like Irish and Scottish and English balladry on the Mekons too. Oh
yeah. But unlike the Clash, they weren't funky. I mean, they did a lot of like reggae. They had a lot of reggae influences.
Sure.
But they weren't they didn't play reggae like straight like the Clash could do.
Yeah.
The Clash had their hybrid moments as well. But they could play reggae straight as well. The Mekons had this great drummer, Steve Goulding, with Graham Parker and the Rumors drummer.
Right.
And he's South London guy, and he was hit to reggae. So they were lucky in that respect. That's a big deal. It's a big deal, and not just when you're young, but really any age, especially in tough times, is to have a sense of something larger than yourself. You can call it inspiration or inspiring, but something that wells up inside you that has makes you feel brave. Another U2 song, which I consider briefly, and didn't put on my list, would be "Pride in the Name of Love."
Yeah, good choice.
For all its inaccuracies, and I think Robert Christgau puts it when he reviewed the Unforgettable Flyer album, he said, "Well, where I live, turning the other cheek." He called it the "turning the other cheek" sentiment of the song. Where I come from, death stings plenty. Point taken, Bob. It's the feel of the song and the feel of the phrasing and the feeling behind Bono's vocal. Even though lyrically, it's inaccurate. In fact, Martin Luther King was not, murdered, assassinated in the early morning. It was actually early evening. That's a well-known thing about the song. But the idea that it makes you sort of... I'll quote Pete Townsend. Pete Townsend said the first time he heard the Sex Pistols' Anarchy in the UK, he said it was spine-stiffening. It made you sit up and say, oh, this is really happening. That's an excellent, excellent description. Spine-stiffening.
Yeah.
And so there's some songs that are really conducive to that, even if it's not a great or relevant or pertinent lyric, pertinent to your particular station or time in your life, but just the overall sound and feel musically of the track.
Yeah.
Have that medicinal effect on you.
Yeah, it definitely had that kind of spine-stiffing effect on me when I heard it.
Oh, yeah, I remember the first time I heard it, too. I was like, but, Brian Eno is producing. Oh, great. Oh, wow. And, indeed, some of the album is like, okay, it's, like Daniel Lanois, messing around. Great textures, beautiful, beautiful. But really, that song is something else, not just for YouTube, but I think in popular music. And a lot of it is really just the sound of the track.
Yeah.
Just how the song works. If that was the only track, if they were a one-hit wonder band, YouTube, and that was their only hit they'd be known for, they'd still be in Valhalla.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. I'm going to not move on to, but we talked about the Clash. I've got a Clash song on here from the Sand and East album. Once upon a time, somebody wrote, do you remember Cake magazine?
Sure.
It was a local free rag, I think monthly. Hap Mansfield was one of the writers. Great, great writer she was. But she had a list once of songs that 10 or 15 or 20, whatever, songs that you're not allowed to speak. Speak while the song is playing.
Okay.
And the number one on her list was this song, "Somebody Got Murdered" by the Clash.
Yeah. What a great song.
I agree.
One of my favorite Clash songs.
Yeah, no talking. Shut up. 3.5 minutes later, then you can...
It's got a police siren as an instrument.
Yeah.
Right.
Just the humanity behind it is some of the strongest I've ever encountered in a pop song.
Yeah, and it's kind of almost whispered, the way Mick sings it.
Yeah, Mick sings it, does the first verse. The second verse, Joe doubles up, singing unison with him. And then the third verse is just back to Mick again. Mm-hmm. And it's based on a real incident. Mm-hmm. Joe wrote the lyrics. Joe Stormer wrote the lyrics of a parking lot attendant in London who was murdered for £2. Mm-hmm. $2.
Yeah.
And but a couple of the lines are just, I'll recite. Say you're minding your own business, carrying spare change. You wouldn't cosh a barber, but you're hungry all the same. Cosh, British slang meaning beat up or back. I've been very tempted to grab it from the till. I've been very hungry, but not enough to kill. That's a heavy line. That's something you don't hear in pop music. That's something you don't hear in political discourse. That's something you don't hear in demonstrations.
Yeah.
In actual, sometimes armed or nearly armed struggle.
Yeah.
I've been very hungry. Not enough to kill. Sorry, it gets me a little emotional just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But the very last, verse, somebody got murdered, the name cannot be found, small stain on the pavement, scrub it off the ground. As the daily crowd disperses, no one says that much. Somebody got murdered. Left me with a touch.
Yeah.
But in general, that sense of humanity, and musically, it's bad. It would be nothing if it weren't for the music.
Yeah, just a driving groove.
It's very melancholy. It's a very melancholy riff and chord progression. Mm-hmm. It's a strange song that rocks very hard, little faster than mid-tempo, but it's actually has a very sweet and melancholy melodic sensibility to it. And that's courtesy of Mick Jones, of course.
You just got this infectious groove to it.
Yeah, it's no great shakes. It's, a straight 4/4, rhythm to it. But Mick's guitar playing on it, he's just a master of making his guitar sound like human feeling, a lyrical is how I describe his guitar playing on this song. Yeah. So there's a clash. I'll just move on quickly to the guy who was referred to when he started out as the one-man Clash, Billy Bragg, the great Billy Bragg. And this would be a track from one of his first albums, 83, 84. And he didn't write it. The track is The World Turned Upside Down. Mm-hmm. I had to look it up a while back. It's written by a guy named Leon Roselson. He's an old guy who's apparently still alive now, writing children's books. But it's just Billy and his electric guitar, his Gibson, Junior or Melody Maker, I think it actually was. The Bo Diddley beat. And it's just ferocious.
Yeah.
In 1649, St. George's Hill, a ragged band they called the Diggers came to show the people's will. Just line after line is just, it explains what's going on. It explains what it explains what happens, and it's just devastating. His guitar playing when he in between the verses, there's no chorus in between the verses. When he'll slash on a downbeat, it's devastating. Just one guy with this thick North London accent, and telling this story, which is universal. It's probably based on actual British history. It actually may be Australian history, but 1649 there was no Australia. Well, there was obviously, but yeah. The Mighty Whiteys hadn't got there yet. It wasn't a penal colony for Great Britain yet. It's a hell of a story. It's a hell of a lyric. It's just damning. It's damning.
Yeah, it's interesting. I always assume that he wrote that song just because it sounds like the kind of song he would write. I know the song. It is one of his greatest.
Yes. It does seem exactly like something Billy would write. Now, I haven't heard the original, or even if it was recorded, or other people have recorded. I've never felt compelled to check them out. The song is so perfect.
Yeah.
In any time, in any season, it's just perfect. From the men of property, the orders came. They sent the hired men and troopers to wipe out the diggers' claim, tear down their cottages, destroy their corn. They were dispersed, but still the vision lingers on. You poor take courage, you rich take care. Earth was made a common treasury for everyone to share. All things in common, all the people one. We come in peace. The orders came to cut them down.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's a damning piece of music. And yes, even with just, vocal and electric guitar, you can dance to it. You can shimmy around your apartment room. Okay, over to you.
Yeah, we were talking about U2 earlier. I had one other song of U2 on my list that I wanted to mention, which is Walk On. And, talking about songs that personally affect us, I remember after 9/11, there was like a benefit concert. And I was really feeling kind of down in the dumps, as a lot of us were, and just feeling emotional about the whole thing. And I remember seeing them perform this song, and it just really lifted me up. It just made me feel so much better. Walk on. After, no matter what happens, just keep walking on.
Yeah, what was that from? I can't remember what album. What was the big? Which album? Big comeback album from like 2002 or?
Walk On is on All That You Can't Leave Behind from 2000.
Yeah, All That You Can't Leave Behind is what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. So it had just come out within a year of all that stuff.
Yeah, so you Walk On, I know I've heard it. I really only remember a couple songs from that album. Stuck in a Moment You Can't Get Out Of, and Beautiful Day.
Yeah, I mean, U2 is known for uplifting anthems, and I find Walk On to be a really uplifting anthem. So I think it's worth a re-listen.
Well, okay. What else you got?
Okay, next I've got Beatles Revolution. I'm skipping the popular single version of Revolution with the distorted electric guitars, and there's two other versions. There's Revolution 1, which is like the slow rockabilly almost version of the same song, and then Revolution 9, which is a sound collage, which,
I know both. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Which just kind of has a kind of a disembodied, almost hellscape / dream quality to it. And I remember, at the time, hearing it as a kid, it seemed like it was about 30 minutes long, and it just seemed absolutely insane. And if you listen to it today, it's actually pretty short, quite well constructed, of course. So it's interesting to listen to it at different parts in your life.
No, it's a great song. Both versions, well, all three versions are great, but both, the normal versions are both, they're just great, period. They don't speak to me on that level. Well, maybe I'm trying to actually think of the lyrics. I don't know, because musically they're so strong. I'm not, a great authority on Beatles lyrics. Say as, you probably are.
He's very honest with himself. He's like, you can count me out, and then he says in.
Right.
It's like, is there going to be a revolution? Is there not going to be a revolution? People are talking about revolutions. Maybe there's going to be one. Maybe I'm a protest singer. Maybe I just feel like I need to talk about this stuff.
So much of it seems self-referential, I guess, is the problem I have with the lyric. Not the problem I have, but for our purposes today. It's self-referential. You go carrying pictures of Chairman Mao, you're never going to make it with anyone anyhow. It's ambiguous, and ambiguity is certainly a sign of the times. It always is it not? But for my purposes, it seems a little too self-referential and to John and the Beatles, to rock and roll, to pop culture, and a little bit of its time.
Revolution 9, I think it's worth a re-listen. It's very abstract, and it's got people, John and George, like kind of talking quietly with each other with like piano playing in the background as they're at dinner. And then all of a sudden some crazy screaming is happening in the street. It feels like something that could have been recorded today. It's very abstract, but I think it's worth a re-listen.
Oh, I know the track, and actually, that of the three, released versions, officially released versions, that's the one that would resonate with me more. Revolution number 9.
Yeah.
Today, sort of like after 9/11, I think Rolling Stone magazine had a cover article. What is music that really befits this occasion? And I think their number one song was. Jimi Hendrix's live version of the Star Spangled Banner, and that seemed apt. I much prefer the studio version, but that seems apt in the same way that Revolution number 9 seems more apt today.
Yeah, you just need to I think we need to reframe, what Revolution can take many forms.
For better or worse, and define better or worse.
Right.
That's where it comes down to a very personal, spiritual, if you will. I'm not talking about religion, obviously, even though a whole lot of people would like to frame it in religious terms.
But speaking of, songs of this vein that have a spiritual dimension, I've got Sam Cooke's Change Is Gonna Come.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah. That could almost be ironic. Jesus.
Yeah, now I'm thinking about...
Change is good, like people like to say. Change is good.
Yeah, well, change... I'm thinking about, like, down the road. A good change is eventually going to come at some point.
You were talking about Germany in 1933, right?
Right, yeah.
Right.
I'm thinking the good, hopey, changey stuff, as they say.
Right. Great track. End of story. Yeah. Good call. Because you have to have... Well, maybe you don't have to have that sort of gospel, that sort of God-inspired. When I say God, I think you know what I mean. I'm not talking about a religious entity, but divinely inspired music, which, guys like U2, try to, tap into.
Sure. Good
call on Change Is Gonna Come, yeah. And Sam's isn't even my favorite version, really. I think the Neville brothers did a beautiful version. An album in the early 90s, produced by Daniel Lanois with in New Orleans. But good call there. Let me go off on Clash, the UK, that era, Billy Bragg, Tom Robinson's bands, the winter of '79, their debut album, Power in the Darkness, and which came out in '78. The song was written probably in '77. Looking forward to the awful, awful things and climate that are going to happen in the winter of 1979. And it's just an iteration of that, from just how, at the time, would be the Thatcher government, but how people are going to be affected personally. And just a great mid-tempo anthemic quality, this song. The first opening lines are all you kids just sit and whine. You should have been here back in '79. Say we're giving you a real hard time. You boys are really breaking my heart. And it kind of speaks to the passage of time and how we view things, and how memory and the effect of traumatic societal changes or incidences can affect us. That's the Tom Robinson Band, winter of '79.
Okay, nice. Next time I've got a fun one, but I think it's very timely. We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sister. Right? Or don't you just feel the energy of that song right now? I feel like that's the song I want to play. I turn up the volume to 11.
Yeah, well, YouTube this when we get off the line. The Tom Robinson's Band from, again, the Power of the Darkness album.
Yeah.
Their track called We Ain't Gonna Take It.
Okay.
I think Twisted Sisters was We're Not Gonna Take It, right?
Yeah.
And Tom Robinson Band's was We Ain't Gonna Take It.
Okay.
Which is a little more fierce. So okay, all right. You got your Twisted Sister. Yeah, you got your Twisted Sister.
Yeah.
You got the Tom Robinson Band.
Yeah, this is no snooty smoking cigarettes, having a cappuccino at your cafe kind of protest song list.
Well, yeah, you gotta have some. Let me do this. Dylan.
Okay.
Tempest. From 2012, I think it came out.
Yeah.
The title track from the album Tempest.
Yeah.
And it's 13 minutes long. And I don't know how many verses. And it's basically a retelling of the sinking of the Titanic. But with a surrealistic fever dream imagery, cross-pollination lyrically, that only Bob can dream of. I don't know, a metaphor for the sinking of the United States. The last term of President Obama's second term. You probably saw what was coming. The beginning of Obama's second term, I should say. But even still, I think Bob saw the writing on the wall. And so the sinking of the Titanic and all the ramifications, the ship that God himself couldn't sink, as they called it at the time, the decline of the United States culturally, well, empirically, as an empire, but more broadly, just the decline of the human race. When has the human race not been declining? And when was Bob Dylan never concerned with the decline of humanity? It's just musically, this Irish inflected air that band plays. The sweet, sweet violin as the lead instrument. And Bob's phrasing. The quality of his vocal. That was the album everybody said, oh, he's really lost his voice, you know, after Love and Theft and Modern Times. Together Through Life, those albums. Oh, Bob's really lost his voice. No. He knew what he was doing. It was an astounding piece of music, and it gets me every time, all 13 plus minutes of it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't fail to get entranced in it, and puts me in a mood. And often I can't listen to anything else after that.
Yeah.
Even though on the album, you know, there is one more song after his tribute to John Lennon, which is melodically a very, very moving song.
Yeah.
I usually turn the album off after the title track, which is the second to the last song on the album, and don't listen to anything afterward. Well, okay. There's my Dylan contribution. I think there are many, many Dylan songs that I could have considered.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's a good choice because it's not the obvious one.
Yeah, there's no blowing in the wind. I did think of Murder Most Foul.
Yeah.
Which is 18 minutes long and Bob's very first number one hit ever after 60 years. I just thought Tempest is a more succinct description. The imagery is more apt. It's you know, based on historical fact. You know, Bob's quite a historian, you know, as a guy. But it's it's a strange song. Cultural cross-referencing, you know, Leo and Cleo. I don't know who Cleo is, but Leo is clearly Leonardo DiCaprio from the movie Titanic, the big hit movie. Like, why is he why are you making that reference? There's a reference to Jim Backus. Jim Backus never learned to swim. He saw the little crippled child and gave his feet to him. Jim Backus was the actor who played Mr. Howell on Gilligan's Island, you know, the millionaire.
Yeah.
Where's this coming from? Wellington, you know, makes an appearance. Is this the Duke of Wellington, Arthur Wellesley? He's strapped on both his pistols. His valiant heart was beating. His men and his companions were nowhere to be found. He strapped on both his pistols. How long did he hold out? That image, where's it coming from? The Duke of Wellington was long dead by 1912. This Bobby doing his usual wordplay. Crossing through centuries, crossing through history, crossing through cultural references to get his images across. Yeah. Even combined with very hard, cold facts about the actual sinking of the Titanic. Sure. It's disorienting, eminently engaging. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's not a great dance number. It's a waltz. So yes, you can waltz to it, but it's quite something. Yeah. Over to you.
The next I've got not a particular song, but Fela Kuti.
Yeah, I know.
The one of the instigators of the Afrobeat genre. A lot of his music was in protest to the corruption of the Nigerian government. And he really walked the walk. He was arrested over 200 times. Apparently, he would put protests in newspapers, and the way he'd get around the censors was he'd buy advertising space, and then he'd write his protests in his advertisements. He had his own club. He would, testify, talk about what was going on, and sing songs of rebellion, and he just wasn't afraid. He wasn't afraid to speak truth to power, and he stayed in Nigeria and fought the good fight.
Yeah, I don't know his work real well, but I certainly heard a lot of it. And as a matter of fact, just the other day on KBEM,
Yeah, it's very uplifting, very danceable kind of music.
Oh yeah, no, he's great. It's a great sound. Rather like King Sunny Ade, a lot of those cats from Southwest Africa. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to. The track I heard I think was like 3 days ago on the jazz station, because it's a great station. They play anything. Actually had some vocals in it that I think were in English actually, but the patois was so heavy that I couldn't. And plus, I was exercising, doing Tai Chi at the time, and so whatever. So I couldn't really pick up, any of the lyrics. But just a little bit of serendipity there. That actually I heard some Fela just the other day.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Great music, and you need that. You need that serious body music, the very physical body music. Obviously, the Southwest African vibe tends to be very nimble and very has a great pop, a great snap to it too. So it's not like heavy, which a lot of say American funk, can be.
Yeah.
Heavy, low end and bass. That's more a musical, specifically musical thing. That maybe if you and I were in a studio recording a track or something, we could talk about it in various serious tones, but maybe that's not right for listeners to. That's not for our purposes for the theme, but. The musicality is the inspiring thing about Fela Kuti for me.
Yeah, it's like let's dance our way through the difficulties. Let's make it a celebration.
Sure. Well, okay, I've got a track here, Prince and the Revolution.
Yeah.
1980 from the Dirty Mind album, Party Up, last song on the album.
Yeah.
And it's vague lyrically, Prince could be a great lyricist, but that wasn't his main thing. His main thing was everything together, just everything to make a great song, a great track.
Yeah.
It's fast BPMs, I don't know, 110 BPMs or something. It's a quick funk song. Just nasty, rhythm guitar playing, and ends up with just the a cappella and hand claps.
Mm-hmm.
And just a great song. So it's a sort of like Fela.
Yeah, have a nice parallel to that.
You're right, yeah. So nothing very specific or profound at all. It's just a vibe, groove. And I don't know why it wasn't a big hit. Well, it would have had to bleep out one word. Well, speaking of other big artists, big well-known artists, I've got Death to My Hometown by Springsteen.
Okay.
Came out in, 2012. Programmed drums, not the E Street Band playing on it. It's got an Irish air to it, sort of... it's obviously Brice is going for an Irish air, and it's a very heavy song. It's like a fight song, and I don't know if you know the song at all. It's a very, very righteous song. You got to have some Springsteen on there, and
sure.
Numerous songs I could have thought. This song directly addresses the robber barons and the oligarchy. Over to you.
Next I have The Stand by The Alarm. I was just looking at the lyrics. The lyrics of the verses are kind of not that great. They're kind of nonsense. But the chorus, meet your maker, make a stand, it's very uplifting. And it just has that kind of classic protest song vibe.
When they first came out, I bought, all their albums up until I think their fourth one, 12-inch, imports and B-sides and
I'm just going for how it makes me feel as opposed to, the lyrics per se.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Right, how the track, the overall feeling. Yeah, I've touched on that a couple times.
And I'm with you. I mean, I kind of like Big Country. I kind of lost interest in their music after their first few albums, but I remember how that early Alarm stuff made me feel, and it still moves me.
Yeah, it doesn't for me much. Big Country's early stuff still does, and I thinking about a couple Big Country songs. Because I think Stuart Adams was a far better lyricist than, early on than Mike Peters was. No disrespect to Mike, but I thought, okay, Harvest Home maybe, The Great Divide from the second album, or I just thought, no, there are two, again, music that makes you feel brave. I don't know. Maybe that's what you're looking. Maybe that's you and me are different that way in these regard. I guess I'm not looking for and music that makes me feel brave isn't cutting it, especially from my youth. It's something else, some more subtle feeling, because to me, something more mysterious. And I guess right now, the times, the climate, to me, feels mysterious. I don't have the answers, even internally. I don't have answers. I guess my point is that sometimes the obviousness of certain stuff, like we'll mention, let's say, U2 we've touched on, we're talking about The Alarm or Big Country. Somehow a lot of stuff, anthemic stuff, is just not doing it for me these days. It has to be something else. And you mentioned the lyrics not being so important and just the overall sound of a record. That I really, really agree with. That really, you've been talking about, Fela Kuti, oftentimes you can't understand his
Exactly.
vocal.
Yeah.
It's the overall sound, the vibe that you're getting.
Yeah.
So that's a very, very important and legitimate feeling. And so you're talking about, The Alarms, The Stand or something. I take your point. And it is. It's great. It's a great track, and sounds great. But I guess maybe I'm getting a little too cocooning inside myself, and I always used to pride myself that lyrics weren't so important in popular music for me. Oftentimes it was just the phrasing and the sound, say on a Stones album or a blues album or a reggae album, where you really couldn't understand what the singer was about. The vocals may have been down, mixed a little bit, that they were just another instrument in the mix. I don't know. I don't want to read the lyrics on the lyric sheet until I've heard the record for like either a year or 100 times, whichever comes first. I used to make those statements and have those beliefs, and now I'm kind of changing my tune. It's like, oh no, now it is kind of important, right off the bat, what a singer is singing.
You got some more?
Yeah, I got a few more here. You got more as well?
I got a few more.
Okay, let's see. Where am I at? Bowie's Sweet Thing Candidate from the Diamond Dogs album.
Okay.
A long track, well, 2 tracks put together. It's a beautiful track. Do you know the track from Diamond Dogs?
I don't think so.
It's kind of the centerpiece of the album, really. It's grotesque. It's a beautiful, beautiful, low-key song. Mike Garson's, jazz-influenced piano. Bowie himself playing sweet alto sax. It's just you'd have to know the song. There you go. Bowie's Sweet Thing Candidate. Sweet from the Diamond Dogs album. Got another one here. Half Angel, Half Eagle from Jane Siberry, Canadian woman from 1989. I guess I'll send you a link. And it's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
She's kind of in the Kate Bush kind of vein. A lot of her work was. This song's a little harder. It's a little harder than a lot of Kate stuff, but generally that survived. Sometimes Midnight Oil, 1986. It's an anthem, but it's delivered with, the lyrics are so clever, and really they're probably, of all the bands that you can think of, The Clash, U2, The Alarm, early Big Country, whatever, Midnight Oil was a real deal, and they're also funny and clever and witty. There's nothing navel-gazing about Midnight Oil ever. So it's a great anthem with just very great, precise lyrics. Blow You Away, Robert Earl Keen from early 1991. From South Texas, troubadour from South Texas, and with mandolin, it's an Irish air, waltz time, bass drums, upright bass. Gary Talent from the E Street Band on upright bass, actually. It is hardcore South Texas swing, country music. I don't know. That sounds like what's going on.
Cool.
Got anything?
Yeah, I got a few more here. David Bowie, It's No Game.
Oh my God, dude. I went back and forth, but I only wanted to do one song per artist.
Yeah.
So between the Sweet Thing Candidate Suite from Diamond Dogs and the 2 versions of It's No Game on Scary Monsters, I decided on Sweet Thing. Yeah, right. It's No Game.
Yeah, and it's not an obvious choice because...
yes, it is.
Well, it is. It is and it isn't, because the music is so good and the screaming Japanese woman is so captivating. You almost don't notice some of the Bowie lyrics, which are, I'll just recite a few of them: silhouettes and shadows, watch the revolution, no more free steps to heaven, I am barred from the event, I really don't understand the situation, and it's no game. Documentaries on refugees, couples against the target. You throw a rock against the road and it breaks into pieces. Draw the blinds on yesterday, it's so much scarier. It's so degrading, and it's no game.
Right? Children around the world.
Right, sing together.
They're making carpets of treadmills or garbage sorting. Yeah?
So, that was a fun one to put in there, and I'm glad you recognized that one right away.
That's one of the first songs that I thought about jotting some down for a list, but then I decided on.
Interesting.
Yeah. And even, the second version, which is the last song on the album, is much more subdued and funky and laid back, just as, Carlos Alomar on guitar. But on the leadoff track,
Yeah.
with the Japanese woman, shrieking out lyrics in Japanese.
Right.
It's got Robert Fripp on guitar, right?
Right.
Just doing this insane, really heavy and just angular guitar playing.
Yeah.
And the song ends, right? And Fripp is still doing this figure. And like the song has already stopped, the rhythm section. And Bowie's, shut up!
Right.
Shut up! It's funny, it's frightening, it's compelling.
Yeah, it's one of the best David Bowie tracks ever. And I think it's not known to the general public because it's not really played on the radio when they play Bowie songs. And one of my favorite songs by anybody ever. It's so great.
So I just picked up from the library the Hunky Dory box set.
Yeah.
Right? Divine Symmetry.
Yeah.
The very first song on the first disc, songwriting, is a song called Tired of My Life. And it's an early version of It's No Game. It's different lyrics, but it has the same, and it's just Bowie and acoustic playing a 12-string, right?
Oh, really? Oh, that early? That's interesting.
Yeah. But it's got the same kind of basic melody, but it's got some of the same reoccurring lines.
Oh, interesting.
It's No Game. You got to check it out. I'm sure it's on YouTube. Talk about more serendipity. Yeah. It's No Game in 1970. But good call. That's the kind of song I'm thinking of that is appealing to what I'm feeling. And that is jiving with the Mekons, which I've been lauding as, current medicine for the current situation. And, musically, it's just everything. The drums, the bass, the rhythm guitar, the lead guitar. The whole album is like that. It's just a perfect album.
Yeah.
It's just an album of that. I think when the album came out, I read a review, and the very final line of the review, I forget who the reviewer was, he said, "How does this man sleep at night with these dreams?" And it still holds up to me 100%.
Oh yeah,
that album,
no doubt. And not to mention
that song appears in two different versions on the album, beginning and ending the album. Good call there, man. Yeah. Good call.
You got any more songs on your list?
Yeah, I think I got one or two. The Sun and the Moon, which is the last song on the very last Pogues album. They did 2 albums without Shane MacGowan. And so by Spider Stacy. And I'll send you a link to it. The lyric, it's more, if Shane MacGowan was James Joyce, Spider Stacy, at least on the song, was Samuel Beckett.
Wow. Okay.
It's funny. It's heartbreaking. He's not the great singer or the great stylist vocally that Shane was.
Yeah.
But just a beautiful, funny, and scathing song. Nothing is True, Jim Carroll Band. Saban, the old man on the hill from ancient Persia. Nothing is true, all is permitted. Song starts out from the Catholic Boy album. You get nothing back for all you saved, just eternity in a spacious grave. She said, nothing is true, everything is permitted. Last line of the song. Until they perfect the techniques to clone, y'all better remember you're all alone. Because nothing is true. Everything is permitted. We'll Inherit the Earth, 3 replacements from the Don't Tell a Soul album. It's even more down-pressing an anthem than Bastards of Young. It's just, we'll inherit the earth, but we don't want it. State our claim at birth. What's she doing on it? Yeah, and I guess that's about it, other than, 2. The Stones, Sympathy for the Devil.
Okay.
All right. So
Yeah.
Satan travels through the years, through the centuries, through the millennia, casting his charms, casting his spells, charming people's situations, manipulating situations. How does that sound?
That's right.
Yeah, and I guess the last one, and musically, it's timeless, the music. It could have been recorded 5 minutes ago, not necessarily in a Western nation, but, other than the electric guitar, it's, which only pops out, as a solo a couple times, Keith soloing, which, basically sounds like barbed wire. Yeah, kids, you can dance to that one, too. I guess the last one I have on here, the longest song in the Guinness Book of World Records, Chris Butler's The Devil Glitch.
Oh, very nice.
All hour long. It's everything, how to put this? It's the solution to all your problems. Any problem you have will be solved in the song.
Yeah, it's like the musical I Ching. You can consult it at any point in the song and get the answer that you need.
Right, exactly. And it goes in and out of grooves with, different players and stuff playing the same riff, the same groove, and all kinds of strange and wonderful things happen. His mother shows up on a telephone recording at one point. There's all manner of stuff, and it's all one song. It's a perfect pop song. And it is actually a 5-minute, edited version of just, the song proper. But this is the song, kids, that you need, The Devil Glitch. And you can dance to it, you can sing along to it, you can have a great time with it, and, but yeah, it's like the I Ching, exactly.
And there's a short version and there's a long version.
Oh, the long version. Oh, God help us. Yes, the long version.
Yeah. Which is how long?
It's about an hour.
An hour, okay.
Yeah, there are longer versions because he has an ongoing thing where people can, by the internet, send in their contributions to it.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing thing. And, the song was released, I think, in 96 or something.
And I want to say I've heard the long version per your recommendation, and it is worth listening to. It's really good.
It's funny. It's true. It's not sugar-coated. When it is sugar-coated, it's still there's a not so pleasing sour center to it. Or it's funny as hell. Sometimes you just need to. That's the recurring theme. Is sometimes you can. Sometimes you to do this or that, you need to do this. Sometimes you need to play pinball, even though Tommy's such a stupid record or whatever. I can't remember the lyric. Yeah. So that's my feel-good song. That's my all-time feel-good song anyway.
Yeah.
And the mystery of it is all in the reality and the literalness of it.
Yeah.
You think of mystery as being this mystical thing, that's the etymology of the word, but oftentimes very literal, actual facts, actual empirical phenomena can be just as, if not more so, mysterious as the mystical.
Yeah, because the whole construct of the song is like, sometimes this happens, and then, this is what you need to do about it. Sometimes this kind of thing happens, and it's just a whole range, the whole full range of human experience.
Right, which is pretty bloody mysterious.
Sure.
Even if you're, I don't know, Forrest Gump or, Billy Bob Thornton and Sling Blade. Or Gilligan, human experience, human life is it's mystifying.
Yeah.
And the devil glitch, why things go wrong, why things happen, it's mysterious. Why is this happening? Why is this going on? Nobody, religious, or esoteric discipline can explain this or adjust this. No prayer, no meditation, no active activism can change this. It's just plain mystifying.
Yeah.
So that's what the song seems to be about, and it's catchy, and it's catchy for a really long time, and it's not boring because it goes through all kinds of mutations and changes while still retaining, the song and the groove. As soon as we hang out, I'm going to send you a few links on YouTube, but I'm going to listen to that, The Devil Glitch, the long version.
Nice.
Just because I feel like it.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to listen to The Devil Glitch. Okay, I've got a few more tunes. I'm just going to list through them real quick.
Oh yeah, by all means. I didn't know you had more. Yeah.
Public Image, Rise.
That's like the only Public Image song that I actively like and know. I mean, I've heard all kinds of those stuff through the years.
Yeah, it's just kind of got that.
I really kind of know that I really, really actively like.
Yeah, it's got a good groove to it. Kind of uplifting in times of difficulty in our world. The next one I've got is Rebel Music by Bob Marley.
Oh yeah, sure.
Patti Smith, People Have the Power.
Yeah, is that Patti's song? I thought that was an older song, a cover.
It could be. I kind of view People Have the Power as a response to People Have the Power to the People by John Lennon. And it's just kind of a musically more compelling song for me.
Yeah, they used to do that on the Vote for Change tour from 2004. It was Bruce and the E Street Band and Neil Young and Michael Stipe and some other people. They used to do that. People Have the Power is like a set close there. Everybody would
Nice.
get together and play on that. I've got a bootleg of the St. Paul show.
The next one I've got is the band. You talked about the Pogues earlier. I've got the band played Waltzing Matilda.
Oh, dude, I was going to put that on there. I'm assuming the Pogues version, right?
The Pogues version, and even though I know they didn't write it, I love their version, and it's just as a.
I was going to put that on there too, but I thought it was too specific because it is so specific.
It is, but it's in these troubled times where war is always a possibility, as a cautionary tale told from a soldier's perspective of war. I thought it was a good song to put on here, and a great song.
The way the man sings it, I mean, Eric Bogle's original version is nothing. It's
that's right.
A nice little folk song, but it's how the band plays it. Elvis Costello's production. The Salvation Army horns on it that pop in and out, and Shane like chewing over every lyric,
right?
Just vile.
Yeah.
Just, that was a serious contender for my list. I
figured it would be. Yeah.
Good call. And it's not just the subject matter, the literal subject matter. It's just plain feeling of the song.
Yeah, and it's about a specific war, but it's also a universal situation for anyone who goes through that, I'm sure.
Sure. But it feels it doesn't feel big. It feels small to me.
Oh, yeah. It's a very personal story.
Feels very intimate, very...
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And the old man at the end, he just feels alone. He's watching the parade.
That's right.
He feels he's inside himself. He can't talk about it. He can't express it to anybody. The young people, what they're marching for.
Yeah.
Good call, Jed. Good call. Yeah. I agree with that. That's a powerful, powerful piece music.
I would have mentioned these earlier when we were talking about John Lennon. I didn't realize I had him on the list, but Instant Karma and Happy Christmas, War is Over.
Sure. Both those, yeah.
And then you mentioned the Stones, Good Call and Sympathy for the Devil. I've got Give Me Shelter and Street Fighting Man.
Yeah, I thought about actually both of those. I just thought, I don't know, just like, I settled on Sympathy for the Devil because it seemed more kind of atavistic somehow.
Yeah. No, I kind of like that choice even better.
Yeah, I mean, I actually did think about Street Fighting Man and Give Me Shelter. I just thought, something, I don't know. I just decided against it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see both of those. They're both, and again, it's maybe not so much the lyrics, the sound.
Yeah, it's more the feeling they evoke. It seems very timely to me for both of those.
Yeah.
Maybe Give Me Shelter more so than Street Fighting Man. The whole point of No Return by the Style Council. I don't know if you know that song, but I'll send you a link. It's a really great Paul Waller.
That was on either their first EP or the Paris Match album.
I think it's on the song. Yeah, I think it's on the first full LP.
Correct.
It's on the first LP, I think.
Well, the first one was just a mini album, and the second one was the first proper LP with Paris Match.
Yeah, I think it's on. It might have been a B-side actually. Things I remember hearing it on like a 12-inch that I bought, but
yeah, I have a 12-inch of it as well. Yeah, so maybe that's where I know it from. Yeah,
but I'll send you the link to that because that's a great song. And then the last one I have is "Invisible Sun" by the Police because that's that came out in '82, and Sting was living in Ireland at the time when he wrote it. The video's quite good too.
Well, okay. Any final thoughts, feeling? I guess we could just say rock on, Wayne, rock on, Garth, party on, Wayne.
That's all I got. You got any final thoughts?
To explain the unexplainable, and the unexplainable is within us as people, as humans. The idea of stories in our own time, in real time, is certainly very important and sometimes valuable to people, I think. Well, hell, I already feel better. Jeez.
Oh, good. That mission accomplished.
Listen to the Mekons.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to the Culture Drop Podcast. This episode was Music as Medicine. Hope you found some musical medicine today, either familiar songs or songs that are new to you. We'll catch you next time.